All right, welcome. Happy Saturday. We have a 5-game slate to talk about in this video. If you're a first-time viewer, my name is DK. I cover content for NBA, NFL, XFL, daily fantasy sports, as well as for player prop sites like PrizePicks. If you guys are not familiar with PrizePicks, you build 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 player props and win up to 25 extra money. So if you want to give it a try, you can use the code DKDFS for 100% match up to $100. I have a link down below. So basically, you deposit using my code $100. There's a free $100 to play with on the site. If you're looking for more in-depth content, you can check out my Patreon link down below for DFS and for PrizePicks. All right, so let's recap today. So it was a really good day overall for me. Started the day off with the CSGO cash. Then went to Call of Duty, had a takedown there in the $100 single entry, and had a good day overall in NBA. Nothing crazy, but about doubling up in everything that I played. So let's go over my lineup. I played every single player from the late games, and I was just really, really high in two teams. That was the Clippers and the Pelicans. So my final lineup was Westbrook, Paul George, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall, Plumlee, CJ, Gordon, and Davis. I'll get out of the way so you guys can see the full scores. But yeah, so I originally had Hernan Gomez, but ended up pivoting to Plumlee once we got the Zubac ruled out news. I had a little bit of I made like a 2v2 or 3v3 swap. Went down. I really like Najee Marshall as a punt play. He was solid. Trey Murphy started the game off really, really well, but kind of cooled off in the second half. My one big stand was I loved Westbrook today. He was only projected for like 10, 12% ownership. And I was like, that does not make any sense. So that was my big flag plant. He smashed. Paul George started really slow, but smashed in the second half. McCollum was fine. And then Gordon was really solid for value. I didn't understand, like, projections had Batum like 3-4x the ownership of Eric Gordon. I told people on Patreon, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Give me Eric Gordon for lower ownership all day long. And then rounded out with Anthony Davis, who got in massive foul trouble too. So I had Plumlee getting foul trouble, Anthony Davis getting foul trouble. So no surprise there. But yeah, solid day overall. Double up in NBA, cash and everything else, takedown in Call of Duty. So hoping to keep that going for this 5-game slate. And let's just start off with the Detroit side. So Detroit, once again, pretty shorthanded. No Bogdanovich, no Duran, no Stewart, no Alec Burks. Isaiah Livers is expected to be back. RJ Hampton is questionable. So starting lineup for the Pistons could be Ivy, Hayes, Magruder, Wiseman. And then the fifth starter, I mean, I guess they could go Bagley here since it's a big front court against Cleveland. Or they throw Isaiah Livers in there. One of those two, I think, will be in the starting lineup. Most likely Livers, but I guess since Cleveland starts Mobley and Allen, the Pistons could go to Marvin Bagley. But yeah, the top two guys, Ivy, Hayes. I mean, in a competitive game, we probably see around 30 minutes. The positive is there are times too when the Pistons get blown out that these guys close the game. So I think they're both solid options. Wouldn't call them either of them priorities. Bagley's 5'2". He's basically been playing the backup 5, but if you get that starting lineup or when you get Bagley starting alongside Wiseman, I would like Bagley a lot more. Wiseman, 4'9", did lose that power forward eligibility. He was power forward eligible for a couple slates. He's a good point per minute guy. I expect 25 to 30 minutes, and he's a reasonable value in my opinion. Hamidou Diallo should come off the bench and chuck. They're pretty short-handed, so I like him. I don't think he starts, but I think we probably see at least 20, 25 minutes from Diallo. Livers, not the best point per minute guy, but probably will see a good chunk of minutes here in his 3.5K. Magruder should continue to start, would be my opinion. Only played 17 minutes last game, though, so it's a bit disappointing. And then you'll see Kojo, you'll see RJ Hampton in the rotation, but probably not going to go to those guys. I move down to Cleveland. So Cleveland, fully healthy team. Mitchell, Garland, obviously both have a ceiling. You get 9.3K for Mitchell, who I like the ceiling a little bit more with, as opposed to 8.8K Garland. Now, Garland still has a relatively high floor, but if we're talking ceilings between the two guards, I prefer Mitchell. Mobley, Allen, I mean, they should see mid-30s minutes in the front court. Both are reasonable options. LeVert probably sees mid-20s minutes on average. I mean, he played 33 minutes last game. I don't think he plays that much, but he's only 3.9K with shooting guard eligibility. You'll see Okoro in the starting lineup. You'll see a bit of Rubio and a bit of Osman. But Cleveland ran a very tight rotation last game against Boston. All right, moving on to Atlanta. So tough matchup here. Trae Young's 9.5. Murray is 9.8. We saw the big game from DeJounte Murray tonight going for 58 fantasy points. I would say that's a bit of an outlier, and it's a tougher matchup here, so definitely not a priority. Trae Young was solid in 29 minutes as well. Capella was pretty popular today. I didn't really understand why everyone was on him, expecting him to play more minutes, because Okongwu got in massive foul trouble last game. And I saw there's a few people at least that talked about that. Oh, Quinn Snyder's the coach. Clint Capella's going to play way more. Capella only played 25 minutes tonight. So I think it's going to be a relatively even split with him and Okongwu. I do think he plays a little bit more, but more of a tournament only play for me. This group of Bogdanovich, Hunter, Collins, and Bay are all fine. The ceiling probably the highest in Bogdanovich. Bay maybe the easiest to get to since he's the cheapest, but those guys all look pretty similar to me. And then Okongwu is 4K. So if you think he plays low 20s minutes like he did tonight, I think he's a decent value. If he only plays 13 minutes 2 games ago, he's not. But again, he had 5 fouls in 13 minutes. All right, so let's talk about Miami. Jimmy Butler's questionable going into the day, ended up playing. I like the matchup a lot more for the Miami side. The issue with Jimmy and Bam, though, is they're not playing a ton of minutes. You did see 38 minutes for Bam tonight, but normally he's been hovering in that low 30s minute range. I would say Hero is probably my favorite to get to, play 39 minutes tonight, just because he's got a shooting guard eligibility and is the cheapest of the group. Kevin Love probably sees low 20s minutes. I think he's just a secondary play. Strus, Martin, Vincent Oladipo. Don't know if I'm going to prioritize any of them. All right, so Houston and San Antonio. Houston, you got no Jay Sean Tate, but they are starting to get healthy. You got KPJ and Jalen Green both back. You got a matchup with 2 bad teams going up against each other, 2 of the worst teams going up against each other. Şengün, I expect around 30 minutes. I like his upside for tournaments. Kevin Porter Jr. in his first game back played 26 minutes, so maybe we get some clarity, or if we get clarity before lock that he's no longer in a limit, I would like him a lot more. Jalen Green also didn't play a ton, 29 minutes, but we know the ceiling's there if he's knocking down his shots. Martin, Jabari Smith, more secondary plays. I'll mention Tari Eason has been playing a bit more. We know he's a good point per minute guy, so 4.3K with a small forward eligibility. I think he's a solid value. I'm not sure if I would get to Christopher or anyone else though in Houston. All right, so let's talk about San Antonio. No Devin Vassell. Kelvin Johnson's doubtful, and we're waiting on the status of Branham. So if Branham's out, I think you get the starting lineup of Trey Jones, Graham, Sohan, Bates-Diop, and Collins. And then if Branham is in, he probably starts over one of Trey Jones or Graham. Zach Collins, 6'4", like the matchup a lot for him. If he stays out of foul trouble, I like his ceiling a lot in this matchup. So I think he's a good option. Jeremy Sohan, I expect around 30 minutes from a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. We saw the big game from him last game. Bates-Diop, not as high of a ceiling, but should see. I mean, he's been really consistent, right? If you just look at the last 5 games, 28, 29, 32, 34, 32 minutes. He's giving you mid-20s fantasy points almost every single time. Trey Jones was on a limit, only played 21 minutes. So, again, I want to see news on him. If we get news that he's no longer on a limit, then I would really like him at that price. Graham, we know, is a good point per minute guy. Played 32 minutes last game. If there's no Branham or if Trey Jones is limited again, I really like Devontae Graham. Branham himself, if he plays, I expect to play 25 to 30 minutes. Will be a reasonable play. Basic's going to play the backup 5. He's a good point per minute guy. I think he's a solid value. McDermott's out too, so this team is pretty shorthanded. You'll see some Wesley in the rotation. You'll probably see, if Langford, if he plays, will be in the rotation. But again, they're relatively shorthanded here. Philadelphia, Milwaukee. So this game should be great to watch. 2 powerhouse teams going up against each other. Embiid is 11-2. He had a really bad game last game, but I expect 35 to 40 minutes from him. Harden 9-7 had a bounce back game, but of course when Embiid's out, he busts with Embiid back. That's when he has a good game. It's what? That does not make any sense. But Harden and Embiid, I think, are solid spend ups. I think my favorite option, assuming he continues to start, would be Tyrese Maxey. He played 34 minutes last game. He's a guy that's going to come off, or he's when he's out there, he's going to shoot, right? So when he was coming off the bench, he's coming off the bench and chucking. When he's starting, he's going to shoot a lot. He shot 21 times last game. So I like Maxey a good amount there. Tobias Harris is a reasonable play at 5'3". I expect mid-30s minutes. They've been pretty consistent for him. Melton had a big game last game, but he did have, 5 steals, so don't know if we can expect that again. But he is only 4K with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Probably wouldn't get to Tucker or Reed or anyone else for Philly. On the Milwaukee side, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 12.3K. I think it's a pretty safe spend up. I expect in a competitive game for him to play mid-30s minutes. Nothing else really standing out there with Holiday or Portis or Lopez. I mean, Middleton just continues to play mid-20s minutes every single game. they're pretty deep. I mean, they have Allen, they have Content, they have Crowder, Ingles, Carter. So there's nothing else that really stands out for me to me outside of Giannis. Finally, Minnesota, Sacramento. This is definitely one of the more appealing games on the slate. Anthony Edwards, 9.4K. Been kind of quiet last 3 games, 35, 36, and 40 fantasy points, but we know the ceiling is there, and I expect him to play big, big minutes. Rudy Gobert had a really nice game in only 27 minutes, 51 fantasy points. This is a good matchup for him. The issue is the minutes haven't been great, but he did deal with a bit of foul trouble. Conley, Slow-Mo, McDaniels all look pretty similar to me. Naz Reid had a good game with Gobert not playing as much. Naz Reid, they split the center minutes, and Reid's a really good point per minute guy. So if you think Gobert gets in foul trouble or just limit him, then you definitely want to have some interest in Naz Reid. Noel missed the game tonight, so you saw my boy NAW play 20 minutes, and then Taurean Prince also saw 21 minutes. I think he's a fair value. Finally, the Kings. So Domantas Sabonis is 10K. I expect him to play mid-30s minutes, probably give you 45 to 50 fantasy points. De'Aaron Fox, 9-1, more of a contrarian spend up, but I mean, he's played really well. Last 3 games, 77, 53, and 53 fantasy points. Malik Monk minutes have been down a bit of late, but we know if he gets it going, they will extend him. So always a guy of interest in for tournaments. Herter, Barnes, Murray, whoever struggles the most out of this group most likely gets benched. So it was Herter tonight. He only played 22 minutes. But Barnes and Murray both saw 30-plus minutes. Again, all the wings look relatively similar to me once again. So I'd probably, if I was going to play one, play a low-owned option. Don't know if I get to anyone else, though, off the bench. So that's going to wrap up the video, guys. Again, if you have been enjoying the content, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you all in the next video.